All right, what is up, everyone? You guys are all doing well today. All right, good afternoon. Everybody ready to
Good afternoon.
get this day going?
Yes,
All right, so as we discussed at the end of class yesterday, today we are going to be picking up with going over some of the basic formations that we use here, and then we will carry on with the rest of day two. Now, as far as what today is going to consist of, firstly, we're going to be going over some patrol fundamentals, which for us, essentially everything is considered a patrol. So it's going to be going over the very basics of everything we do when we go outside the wire. Uh, Different ways we move, how we communicate, the different types of reports that we use, so on and so forth. And then we'll go into, uh, after covering some of the movement techniques, we'll go into some of the maneuver techniques. And you guys will learn the difference between movement and maneuver. Uh, and then if we have time, we will try to make it into MOUT, which is military operations on urban terrain, essentially CQC, close quarters combat. All right. Anybody have any questions at this point?
Negative for Sergeant. Negative for Sergeant.
All right. Outstanding. Sergeant Myers, would you mind leading these guys up to the supply sergeant, getting them geared out, uh, assign them roles as you see fit?
First Sergeant.
I am pretty good, Cope. Also, the you should be all processed now to be able to report in and all that good shit. Brewer took care of that this morning. And hello, Jake. Yes, quick fit. Did you end up filling in last night, Cope?
Paul AR. Perkinson Grenadier. Rainison Rifleman. The Rifleman loadouts. One
Oh, if you want
additional
to hop in, Cope, you're welcome
AT-4.
to. I could actually use one more person.
Renison, you want to take the 84 or the law?
I'll take the 84.
Oh, nice. You were with 3-4. They seen plenty of action last night.
Sergeant Myers, my loadouts are still bugged. I went in and tried to fix them yesterday, but they're still bugged out. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Anyone got a team lead loadout?
I got it, Sergeant.
Go and drop him it.
Copy.
All right, let's get our radios set up here.
Make sure you all have a pair of Vector 21s and a radio.
The uniform is loaded with the map, the maker dagger, the radio, the compass, and everything. In the backpack, you can have your vector. Done, Sergeant.
First Sergeant.
Yeah.
I got him running 2 Riflemen and just in one team.
Also, Booker, you're gonna have your night vision.
All right, we should we should have enough here to run 2 teams. We got 11 in here now with Private Gates, who is on his way in.
Roger, I'll split 'em.
Yep, go ahead and split them. Have have Illyri or Garcia go Mike.
Alright, fam.
Hey, Broken.
Right, one of the riflemen.
But yeah, Jake, last night's
Raiden, go
op,
and drop your rifle
some
and
guys
load
might
out.
see it as kind of boring because I was just sitting on an Overwatch
Team
position,
loadout.
kind of commanding the entire time, but it was pretty damn cool.
Back to the 84 then.
Yeah,
Um,
fam. Go grab the AT.
it was the most
Got
calming, I guess, mission we've had, or the most calm mission I've had in a long time. It was an absolute fucking chaos, and it was nice to just be able to command guys. All right, 2 team leaders in front of me.
Do you want to run Mike?
Shoulder to shoulder. All right, take a knee. AR is directly behind them.
Staff Sergeant, you've been a Mike before. Got any medical experience?
I'm not qualified if that's what you're asking.
You are now.
Grab a mic. Load out.
Private Bollinger. Stack up behind Rainison's nutsack. All right, Grenadiers. Private Gates will be the other Grenadier. Oliver, stack up behind Perkison.
Copy.
Sergeant Garcia,
Yes, First Sergeant.
mind grabbing a rifleman loadout for me?
Sure thing.
Gonna be carrying the law. And if I hear you say I am the law one time, I'm gonna kick you in the face. All right, gentlemen, get used to being in this formation. All right, this is kind of our PCC formation, pre-combat checks. All right. However, this is only used when we're in a class setting like this, or if we're in an FTX, a field training exercise. All right, if we're loading into deployment server, we do not form up like this. Now, why we form up like this, you'll understand more come day 3, but it has to do with air assault. Now, that being said, as I told you guys yesterday, once you get into the server and get geared out, that's when you're going to start going through your pre-combat checks, making sure everybody's got their ear pro, eye pro, all that good shit, and doing your radio checks. All right. Now, as we went over yesterday with the radios, remember, caps lock is to talk on your primary net. Tango is to talk on your additional net. Now, that's only going to be important for Booker and Rainison. You're going to be the only 2 that have an additional net. The other guys are only going to be listening to one frequency. Team leaders and up are the only ones that listen to multiple frequencies. All right, so Booker, your team is going to be Alpha. Rainison, your team is going to be Bravo. You guys are only referred to by your team name on the radio. All right, so when you do your radio check up to higher, you're going to be Alpha. You're not Booker. You're going to be Bravo. You are not Rainison. You understand that?
Affirmative, First Sergeant. Yes, sir.
All right. Remember how to do your radio checks, all right? This is so-and-so, radio check, frequency 123, over. They'll respond. and you respond back, solid copy, out. All right, so go ahead and start getting your radios set up. Alpha, your primary net is going to be 100.1. Bravo, your primary net is going to be 100.2. Booker and Rainison, your additional net is going to be 100. That is your squad net. That is how you will speak to Sergeant Myers, who is your actual. He is only to be referred to on the radio as actual. At any point in time you need to get medical attention from the medic, you will call him as Mike, all right? Since he's a medic, his calling station is Mike. All right, anybody got any questions on that?
Negative first line.
Negative report.
All right, so go ahead and get your radio set up. Get a radio check done with your entire team. Once your entire team has done a radio check, then do a radio check with actual on 100. Once you guys are done with that, we'll get going.
Oliver, radio check.
Jake, thank you for that 644, bro. I
Private Raiders,
greatly
what's your
fucking
team
appreciate
feel?
it, bud. Yes, Oliver is here.
0.1, right?
Negative, you're Bravo team, you're 100.2.
This is
Oliver, radio check on 100.1 over.
Something like that.
Lima Charlie, Oliver,
Yeah, you'll be on 3-1 as well as 100.
Check frequency 100.2 over.
This is Parkinson, radio check on frequency 100.1 over.
Reading Lima Charlie Parkinson. Over.
Roger, out.
Bravo, this is Sergeant Garcia requesting radio check on frequency 100.2, over.
Oh, right on. He's your buddy from the 15th. Nice.
This is
Received out.
Radio check frequency 100.1. Over.
Private Gates requesting radio check 100.2.
Loud and clear, Booker.
Solid copy.
Lima Charlie on 100.2. Over.
This is Rainison
Roger, out.
requesting radio check on frequency 100.2, over.
Hey, Vertigo. Lumen, did you fill in last night?
Read you 5x5.
Oh, yeah, you did.
0.2.
Who did you fill in with?
Turn around, Rainison. Thank you.
Private Bollinger radio check frequency 100.2. Over.
You out and clear, Bollinger. Over.
Oh, you were with 3-1. You had fucking mortars dropping all around you towards the end there.
Out.
Team leaders, I've not heard anyone checking on squad net yet.
How do I access the squad again?
It'll be your secondary net, so it'll be Tango. If you programmed your radio correctly.
How do I set
This is Alpha, radio check frequency 100, over.
Alpha, this is actual Lima Charlie on frequency 100.
Hey, Jaws. Yeah, we're back to streaming OSUT. Got a decent sized class.
Open the radio, cycle over to channel 2, set alternative, set it as 100, hit enter, hit 1 on your numpad, go back to your primary channel, and then it should be Tango to transmit on your squad leader.
Who's that good looking grenadier?
This is Rainison performing radio check frequency
That would be
100,
Perkinson.
over.
Do not use your fucking name on squad net. You're not Rainison, you are Bravo.
Sorry, sir.
Not a sir.
This is Bravo, radio check frequency 100, over.
Bravo, this is actual Lima Charlie on frequency 100.
Get bird mouth, boy. Bravo, you need to respond back to him.
I know I didn't say out.
What's the respond?
Yeah, so I will acknowledge that I've heard you on frequency 100, and I should have ended the transmission. I didn't, but the minor thing, and then you'll reply with Roger out, ending the communication.
It didn't explode from all the bread. It is good to hear.
Try again.
Roger,
this is actual. I am reading you Lima Charlie on frequency 100, out.
Roger.
I should have said over. I'm having a fucking bad day. Havoc 7, this is 2-1.
You must be having a bad day, Sergeant, because I don't know what freak you're calling me on, but it ain't 3-1.
Oh, fucking 3-1, is it? Havoc 7, this is 2-1.
Send it.
2-1 is ready to step off.
Alright. There you guys go. So, that is a basic example of how PCCs are done. Now, this is something that you guys are going to continue to get better at, because as I told you, every single time you load into a server, this is the exact steps that you're going to be going through, as far as making sure you got all your gear, got your earplugs in, all of that good stuff. All right. Now, once you have your radio checks done and all of that, generally we would just step off. But that's if you have a set team, everybody already knows what they're doing ahead of time. Now, for you guys not ever working together, now you need to choose your 2IC or your second in command. All right, so this is the person that is going to step up and notify others if you as team leaders are down. All right, so Booker and Rainison, choose your 2ICs.
Oliver, your second in command.
Hey, Grim.
Paul, you're second in command.
Hey, from.
All right. Good job, both of you turning around and picking the first guy you've seen. Now, does anybody want to tell me why having the AR is not going to work as the 2IC?
I have no idea, First Sergeant.
Who did I tell you was the natural buddy team to the rifleman yesterday?
Team leader, Sergeant.
No.
First Sergeant, buddy team's gonna be Rifleman and Grenadier, AR, and Fireteam leader.
There you go. Paul, is that what you were going to say?
I was the one that said Rifleman.
Booker, what was your guess?
I was going to say Grenadier.
Rifleman and Grenadier are natural buddy team. AR and the team leader are the other natural buddy team. So would it make sense to have your buddy as the 2IC when generally any shit you're going to get into, he's going to be right fucking next to you? The answer is no. So, Booker and Rainison, choose a 2IC.
Garcia, your second in command.
Roger that.
Ferguson, you're second in command.
Copy.
All right. Now, as 2IC, you need to be ready at any point in time to step up to squad net and notify your actual that your team lead is down. That being said, generally guys will program their radio channel 2 to 100 or whatever their squad net is, but they will not set it as an additional. We're not allowed to listen to a higher net just because you're 2IC. Right? You just set it as your channel 2. Should your team lead go down, you can open your radio real quick, go to channel 2, hit that left facing arrow, set it as additional, and then go back to channel 1 and you're good to go. You've stepped up as a team lead. All right, anybody have any questions on that?
Negative, First Sergeant.
Yeah, First Sergeant.
I have one First Sergeant. Oliver, back here.
Send it.
Just to make sure, once you're 2IC, is it okay if the Alpha 2IC, let's just say for Perkinson right now, do a radio check on squad net just to make sure it's set up correctly?
Yep, it's generally advised to do so. Now, when you do a radio check as a 2IC, remember we don't use names on squad net and above. All right, everybody's got their calling station. So technically your calling station as 2IC would be Alpha 2IC. So you would come across doing your radio check as this is Alpha 2IC radio check, just like normal, right? So 2ICs for the teams, go ahead and do your radio checks as 2ICs.
This is Alpha 2IC radio check on frequency 100 over.
Alpha 2IC, this is actual Lima Charlie on frequency 100, over.
Roger, out.
This is Bravo 2IC, requesting radio check frequency 100, over.
Bravo 2IC, this is actual Lima Charlie on frequency 100, over.
Roger that, out.
Alright, there you go. Now you guys are completely done with your PCCs. Now, normally you would also choose someone to carry CLS, Combat Lifesaver equipment, but we do not use CLS in OSUT. That is another class that you must go through to get CLS qualified and be able to carry it. Alright, now, we're done with all of that, so we'll head out and go over the formations and stuff. We won't need radios and all of that to go over the formations, but it will come into play once we get to the next part. So follow me. All right, you're going to walk up to the flag, use your scroll wheel, select movement formations, and head out to the formations display. Go ahead and do so now. Yeah, those main battle tanks got a little hairy there for a minute. There was one that got through and was pointing his fucking turret up at where us as HQ were at, and just at the last second, Thunder was able to hit him with a fucking Maverick. Will there ever be an Urban 4? Maybe. I honestly don't know at this point. Hey, Assault. All right, gentlemen, go ahead and come over here. Follow me up the tower. All right, go ahead and move yourselves up along the ramparts here and look out to where you can see the formations. Now, if you all direct your attention over towards the west, that would be your left. You should be able to see my red box out there. Everybody see my red box? All right. So, first thing we're going to be going over is some basic Fireteam formations. And the first one of those is the Fireteam file, essentially what you guys were just lined up in. All right. Now, the Fireteam file, as far as who goes where, up at the point, it's going to be the Fireteam leader. Number 2 man is going to be the automatic rifleman. Number 3 is going to be the grenadier. And the last man is going to be the rifleman, just like you guys were lined up. All right. Now, what you see demonstrated here is absolute minimum spacing. All right. Now, spacing is going to be dependent upon the terrain that you're in your current situation. Okay, so if you're in, say, a town or a very dense forest, you're going to decrease that spacing. If you're in a large open field, you're going to increase that spacing. Essentially, what you want to do is have as much spacing in between each individual as you can while still maintaining visual contact. All right, at no point in time should you not be able to see the entirety of your team. Now, some of the upsides to the Fireteam file is that it has a very rapid rate of movement. It is very good for moving through, as I said, a dense forest or a town, as you can move quickly in and out of places. Now, as far as the downsides, to one last on the plus, is that it has good security to the flanks. All right. Now, as for the downside, it has very poor security to the front, and to the rear. Does anybody have a guess as to why it has poor security to the front and to the rear? Anybody at all? Oliver, close enough to a C.
Yeah, sorry. That was my bad. Poor security to the front is that you can have the Fireteam leader in front, meaning that not everybody can watch front because everybody's gonna be there on the far.
Basically, yes. All right, you only have one guy up front. You can't engage if you're the 2, 3, or 4 man because you have bodies in your way. All right. Now, as far as who's covering what sector while you're traveling, point man is covering the front 180, number 2 man is covering either the 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and the number 3 man is going to be opposite side based off of where the number 2 man is. So if that AR is covering 2 o'clock, then the Grenadier is going to be covering 10 o'clock. Now, the last man covers the same sector as the number 2 man, so he'd be covering 2 o'clock. However, he also has rear security. So every so often, he's going to look over his shoulder, make sure there's nothing coming up behind you guys. Now, when you get into a short halt situation, which is something we'll go over more here in a little bit, that is when the rifleman will spin around and cover your rear as you see depicted here. All right. Now, the other way to get around having poor security to the front or to the rear, especially in a town, is to have the number 1 and the number 4 man move crouched. All right, especially if you short halt, say along a storefront in a town. That point man and the last man should both crouch immediately. Number 2 and the number 3 man still cover their sector appropriately, but should a threat arise to the front or to the rear, they can now turn and fire over the top of the guy directly in front of them. So now you're able to have 2 rifles on target as opposed to 1. All right, everybody tracking?
Hey, from first sergeant.
All right, and we'll go over more of that later when we get into mount. Now, moving on to our next formation. Here we have the Fireteam wedge. Now, the wedge is probably the most commonly used Fireteam formation because it offers the best security both to the front and to the flanks. Now, as far as makeup, who goes where, again on point, we have the Fireteam leader. Off of either his 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock, we have the automatic rifleman, as well as the rifleman. And then on the other side, directly across from the automatic rifleman, we have the grenadier. Now, as far as which side the automatic rifleman and the rifleman go on is going to be dependent upon the team leader deciding which side he wants as the strong side. A strong side means you're going to have the AR and the rifleman on that side. It's got more guys, more firepower, hence strong side. So this would be a strong side right. So if you're stepping off and the Fireteam leader says, give me a wedge, strong side right, AR and rifleman automatically drop over to the right side. It's going to be the AR first, then the rifleman in the rear. Grenadier is going to be directly across from the AR. All right. So it's essentially, this formation is just a Fireteam file that's opened up, all right, to make a wedge. Now, guys still have the same responsibility. Team leader has the front 180. Whoever's on his 5 o'clock is going to be covering 2. Whoever's on his 7 o'clock is going to be covering 10. If, like in this instance, it's a Fireteam wedge strong side right. The rifleman is also going to be covering 2 to 3 o'clock. If they stop in a short halt, then the rifleman is going to spin around and cover the rear. Now, as far as downsides to the Fireteam wedge, it does not have a very high rate of movement like the file does, so you move a little slower, but that is why the wedge is more so used when either already in contact, other elements are in contact, or contact for your element is imminent, all right, meaning you know you're about to engage something. And that will depend, or that will dictate which side is strong. Okay, so if there's high probability that the enemy is on your right somewhere, then you're going to have strong side right. If there's high probability they're on your left, then you're going to have strong side left. All right, any questions on this?
Negative for sergeant.
All right, so now we will move on to some squad formations. Now, the first squad formation that you will see here would be a squad file or a squad column. A column is any vertical formation. All right, so this file is very simply two Fireteam files. Now, what makes this different is obviously you have the full squad, but it's not just the two Fireteams, because in the squad you also have the squad leader and the squad medic. That is the two right here. Now you can notice the distance in between the point team and the squad leader and medic, and then the trailing team. Right? This is for essentially traveling Overwatch. This isn't quite the spacing you would have for what is known as traveling Overwatch, but that's what this is kind of depicting. Okay, so in basic traveling, like what the formations are here, you're going to have this basic spacing. Now moving into this squad formation, to practice traveling Overwatch, essentially you punch that point team out there 50 meters or so farther ahead of the squad leader and the trailing team. This is so that if that point team is engaged, they can set up a base of fire, begin engaging the enemy, and now that trailing team and the squad leader can maneuver around that base of fire and eliminate the enemy. Right? That is the very basics of fire maneuver, which we practice here. Right? Anybody have any questions on this?
Negative for Sergeant.
Negative for Sergeant.
All right. Now, the next formation, this is kind of your more traditional squad column. Now, up at the front, you see we have a Fireteam wedge, strong side right. And then in the center here, we have the squad leader and the squad medic practicing command and control. And then at the rear, we have a Fireteam diamond. All right. Now, a squad column can be formed with pretty much any formations. Generally, the point team is always going to be on a wedge because, like we said, the wedge offers the best security to the front and to the flanks. Now, a trailing team is going to be entirely dependent upon the squad leader or the team leader as to what formation they're going to be in. A diamond offers the best protection or the best security to the flanks and to the rear, but it also has a slow rate of movement. Right, so that trailing team could be in a diamond, another wedge, a file, whatever. Right, now this again is somewhat depicting what traveling Overwatch would be, with that point team being a little bit further out there. Squad columns are great to use for traveling Overwatch. If you can push that point team out there 50 meters or so ahead of everybody, if that Fireteam wedge is engaged, those guys on the wings, so the three guys aside from the Fireteam leader, will push up on line with each other. Right? They'll make a horizontal line known as a skirmish line. Those guys will push up, start providing a base of fire. That allows that trailing team to now move or maneuver under that base of fire around the enemy and eliminate them. Now the same goes if this formation is engaged from the rear. If that trailing team is engaged, now they can push up on line with each other, and that point team can spin around and go maneuver around the enemy. All right, any questions on this?
Negative for Sergeant.
Negative for Sergeant.
All right. Now, continuing to move on, off to your guys' 2 o'clock there. Here we have a squad line. All right, and move around as you guys need to. You're still going to be able to fucking hear me, so move wherever you need to move to be able to see this shit. Now, squad line is essentially 2 mirrored Fireteam wedges. So what you see here is a strong side right and a strong side left with the squad leader and the medic in the center. Now, the Fireteam line has great security to the front and to the flanks. However, it has a slower rate of movement. So a squad column and a squad line are much like a Fireteam file and a Fireteam wedge. All right, they have kind of the same strengths and weaknesses. Now, squad line is more so used if you know there is imminent danger to your front. All right, so if you're pushing up and you know the enemy is in front of you somewhere, generally the squad leader is going to call for the squad to get online, and they'll push up in this fashion. Now, a lot of times you'll see, instead of a traditional squad line like this, you'll see just a horizontal line that works as well. But this is more so used when traveling. Right, so if you're traveling and you know the enemy is ahead of you, then you will fall into this formation, which is 2 Fireteam wedges. If you have already been engaged and you are still pushing up, then at that point, the center will push up and the wings will push out, and then you will create your horizontal skirmish line, and you can continue to push forward if that is your goal. All right. If you are not providing a base of fire for another squad to maneuver, if you are simply clearing through an area where you have already eliminated the threat and you now need to push through, clear that area, make sure there is no other threat there, then you will push up online with each other and move, not shoulder to shoulder, but you'll move on that horizontal line so that nobody crosses that breach point. All right, that breach point basically means that you're not moving in front of any other troops, right? Because you never want to move in front of someone else's rifle. So if you all stay on that same breach point line and move forward together, you essentially sweep forward together. You don't have to worry about anyone moving in front of your rifle, and you can all have overlapping fields of fire. All right. Everybody tracking on this?
For Sergeant.
Outstanding. So, what we're going to cover now, we're going to cut back over to this side here. All right, over where the Vic is. Now this is what is known as a staggered column. All right, a staggered column we will use when moving along roadways and what we call a road march, as well as working with any vehicles. All right. Now, firstly, if we go over the vehicle portion, when we're working in mounted operations, if we're heading into a known hostile area, we will dismount from the vehicles. We will do what is called a soft dismount, where only the driver and the gunner stay inside the vehicle. And we'll go over that more on day 3. But we will soft dismount the vehicles, and we will push the infantry out in front of the vehicles like you see here. Now this is a way for those troops out front to act as a sensor as well as a protection for those vehicles. All right, because if we were to just leave everybody loaded in the Vic and we go driving into a hostile town, very easy for some ass bag in black pajamas to pop out from around the corner and hit that truck with an RPG, and now we have 10 guys inside of it that are fucked. As to where if we dismount the troops and do what we call walking the Vics in, everybody gets in a staggered column like this, walks along the sides of the road, or the rails as we call them. You walk the rails and walk those vehicles in. When same said ass bag pops around the corner with an RPG, he gets shot in the fucking face with a rifle before he can get that round off and hit the truck that's 50 meters back behind the rest of the infantry. All right, so we work as a sensor and a barrier for those vehicles. Now, alternatively, if we're not working in mounted operations, but we're still moving along a roadway, right, we're going to walk the rails because A, it's quicker, B, it keeps the center of the road open. Now, the reason we keep the center of the road open is very simple. If a vehicle comes down the road, we can very easily get off of the road, out of harm's way. Also, if something comes down the center of the road and we need a weapons element to engage it, they can very easily step into the center of the road and engage that without anybody getting in the way. Right? So, oftentimes when you are traveling in a staggered column like this, your support element, which is generally going to consist of your weapons squad and one rifle squad, they are going to be second in the order of march. All right, you're going to have one rifle squad on point, and then you're going to have your weapons squad. Now, that weapons squad, as I said, if they need to engage something coming down the road, first thing that's going to happen is those 240s are going to get set up right along the rails, just inside the road from where you guys are standing. All right, so they're going to be able to fire linearly all the way down your guys' formation. All right, so don't ever step into the road if the 240s are set up. Additionally, if there's armor down the center of the road, then one of those armor teams, more so if it's a Maz, because a Javelin's going to fire pretty much straight up in the air, but a Maz gunner can step into the center of the road and fire his rocket with impunity right down the center of the formation because nobody's going to be in the way. All right, everybody tracking on that? All right. Now, when we're moving in this formation, whether it be when we're in mounted ops and we have vehicles behind us, or we are not in mounted ops, generally there is going to be a lot of guys in this formation, especially if we're not working with vehicles at all. All right, you're going to have the entire ground element of a task force all lined up in this same formation, which means you're going to have just over 50 guys lined up in a staggered column moving along a road, which is a lot of fucking people. Right? Now, if you're point on that formation, if you're all the way the hell out here where the red box is, right? The most important thing is to pay attention to your rate of movement, right? If you are told to be moving at a jogging pace with your weapon down, then you need to ensure that you are moving at that correct pace, right? I understand some people don't want to play in third person. They think it's unrealistic or cheesy or whatever the fuck your stupid excuse is. That's fine. But you need to be able to notice if you are moving crouched when you should be standing up, or if your body is leaned over to the right when you should be fucking standing up straight. Right? These are things that impede your rate of movement. And if you up at the front are moving slower than everybody else, you're going to cause a slinky effect all the way down that fucking formation until finally it gets to where myself or another command element is at. And if I see a bunch of slinky shit going on, I'm going to come up to the front of the formation and chew you the fuck out for being an idiot. All right? Everybody tracking on that?
Affirm.
First Sergeant.
All right. Now, when traveling in this formation, right, guys up on point, just like any other formation, they cover the front 180. All right. Now, the guys behind, it's just like a file. Okay. So, in this situation, though, you have guys directly across the street from you. So if, say, the number 2 man on this right side is covering 2 o'clock, that number 3 man can't really cover 10 o'clock because he'll be looking pretty much right at the guy directly across the road from him. Okay? So you all kind of cover whatever side of the street that you're on. So if you're on this right side of the road, you cover that open field off to your right. Now where that differs is when you go into a town. Right? If you're moving in this formation in a town, the guys on the right side of the road can't cover anything on their right because it's just a bunch of buildings. You're moving along the storefronts. But you can cover the shit over on the left side of the road that is above the other team. Right? So if you're on the right side of the road and you have a team on the left side of the road across from you, you can cover the second story windows, rooftops, balconies, shit like that because they don't have an angle on it because it's directly above them. So if you look over there and cover it, and they look over and cover what's above you, now you have all of the different sectors covered. All right? Everybody understand them?
Affirm, First Sergeant.
All right. Now, moving on to our last one, back over to the far right here. This would be another staggered column. However, this is a staggered column in what we call a short halt position. All right. So short halt, and again, we'll go over this more in a little bit, simply means you're stopping for a few seconds. You're not going to be hanging out there long. Now, notice that all of the guys turn and cover the sector on their side of the road with exception to the 2 guys on point. And if you can't see those 2 guys on point, try and move a little closer or use your vectors if you need to. Those 2 guys on point, one guy is covering 10 o'clock, one guy is covering 2 o'clock. Same goes for the guys at the rear. One guy is covering 5 o'clock, one guy is covering 7 o'clock, so that they can have overlapping fields of fire. Now the guys in the center of the formation are all just covering straight out into the fields on either side of the road. All right? Everybody tracking?
Affirm,
Yes,
First
First
Sergeant.
Sergeant.
All right. Does anybody have any questions on the formations that we have covered thus far?
Negative, First Sergeant.
Negative. First Sergeant.
Negative First Sergeant.
Negative, First Sergeant.
All right. Outstanding. All right. Go ahead and follow me down the tower. All right. And sorry, guys, I can't really talk to you too much when I'm in the middle of teaching and shit. Paul, remove that box from your saw. I promise you, you are not going to need it. All right, so what we're going to do next is move on to some of the fundamentals of patrolling and what it is we do here. However, before we do so, we need to head back to our staging area and get the next area loaded up. So you guys are going to approach the flag here and go back to the S3 staging area. Go ahead and do so now.
T2's been loaded. Yeah, sure. Yeah, see it. You're skipping land nav. Yeah. Alright. Roger.
Yes.
A from Sergeant.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm going to be taking you guys over patrolling. So, there are 5 principles of patrolling. First one is planning. Always go with a plan, but remember that plan might change upon contact. It might almost always changes. When you first get to contact, the plan always goes down the shitter, but it's always good to have a plan anyway. Second is recon. Always do some form of recon.
And thank you guys for all of the follows. The last few I have missed. And yeah, I will be right back. Gonna grab something to drink.
Looking ahead, seeing what we're going to be running into. Third is security. Always maintain a 360 security. Always watch your rear. Always watch your flanks, so you don't get someone running up behind you and nailing your entire squad. Fourth is control. Always be in control of your elements. Pretty self-explanatory. Fifth is common sense. Use common sense. Again, very self-explanatory. Now we're looking into zone recon of a zone. So go recon Washington DC. For example, on the map, if you've got a point called Alpha, go and recon Alpha. An area recon is reconning a specific location. Go recon the White House, which would be, maybe go recon a building inside of Objective Alpha. Route recon, reconnaissance of the enemy or terrain of a route. Go recon the route from the Washington. Go recon the route from the White House to the Pentagon. So you're looking at a direct route between 2 points. You want to know what's on that route, what could be on that route, anything around that route. Combat patrol. Attacking. Patrol to attack, occupy a certain position. A raid, an attack with a planned withdrawal. So, for example, going into a city to get a HVT and then get the fuck out of there. You don't want to hang around. An ambush, a surprise attack on the enemy with a planned withdrawal, generally along roads or trails. Fire and maneuver. Assault. The assault element provides rear security during movements. They act as a maneuver unit for a patrol. Support. Supporting element provides a base of fire during attacks. They allow the assault element to maneuver around the assaulting elements. Security. Security element provides security for the patrol. They cordon the objective, allowing no one to enter and no one to leave. Methods now. Balancing and Overwatch. So balancing and overwatching is basically using cover.
Donut filled with Nutella? That sounds fucking amazing. And hello, Dexter. I did see you say hey. Thank you for joining today.
Covering arcs. That means if you are moving and you're being covered, try not to run in front of the guy who's covering you, because if he needs to open fire, he's either going to hit you in the back or he's not going to be able to open fire. 3-second pass if in an open
Ah,
train.
you're good, Dexter.
I'm down, so that means that
Your English
if
is
you get up
fucking
to move
perfectly
and you
fine.
see someone, then you know to hit the fucking deck and let the guys behind you covering take him out. Don't just keep on running, or at least try and find some cover before you engage. Alternate bouncing is a faster way to move, but it's less safe. Think of it as a leapfrog movement. Each element moves past another, so there'll be an element on the left who will move up, and then once they've moved up, the element on the right will move up to the exact same point in line with you. Successive bouncing, a slower but safer way to move. Each element plays catch up. The element that moves first is never moved past.
Abby and Moon, thank you for the follows, guys.
Used to disengage from contact and move towards cover while providing return fire.
Yeah, exactly. I fuck up English, and it's the only damn language I speak.
It's important because then you'll let people know around you if you're moving. Covering element will know you're obviously moving. Your call set, that lets the other element know, or someone else know that you're set. You're sitting there. They feel free to move. You've got their back, or you're covering whatever you're moving to. Once under cover, the fire team element or squad leader continues the mission. Breaking of contact. The Overwatch, bouncing Overwatch, and peel can be used to break contact. Yeah, continuing to put guns on target, otherwise the disengage can become a route. Squads and fire team rushes. Movement. Hold on 1 second. Movement are in much longer distances than bouncing. One fire team may provide cover for another one as the fire team makes a 100-meter rush to a wall or an enemy compound. This is useful. It can be quite risky if you are just running up on a compound, but as long as you've got someone watching your back, you should be okay. I would, like it says here, 100 meters, I would say that's pretty far to rush. You would also be using concealment such as smokes to cover your movement, especially if you're running in open fields. Next section is cover.
Nutella on pancakes.
I
put peanut butter on pancakes, so yeah, I can see it.
Cover should always be utilized, and here especially hard cover. Hard cover includes things like trees, walls, defilade, etc. Best type of cover that I feel is defilade. If there's a hill in between you and the enemy, for a round of 7.62 isn't going to go all the way through a hill. Trees are all right. Walls can be okay depending on the thickness of the wall. That rounds can still penetrate walls. But you should always try and seek hard cover. Concealment is different to cover. Concealment does not protect you from
thank you for the follow.
You will be able to hide yourself, but will not be protected from outbound rounds, grenades, high explosives, anything like that. Use smoke to cover large open areas that your team may need to cross to conceal your movements. Another great way of concealing your movement may be vegetation in between you and the enemy.
We do a lot of honey butter, which is where you mix honey with peanut butter.
In front and above you. Basically,
it's not difficult at all. It doesn't sound too amazing, but God, it's good.
Fire, but not indirect fire, such as mortars, and concealed from the air till they are right on top of you. However, your backside is exposed, so you may need to switch if they're coming from behind. It's important to reinforce 360 security. Skylining. This is the act
Jake, they get placed into wherever it is they request, whichever squad they request. Unless we have higher needs elsewhere, then they get put, wherever.
Do not never crest a hill unless you're prone. Team communication. Target identification and relaying information. Proper target identification, relaying information, also known as ADD-RAC. The A standing for alert. Sees different types of contacts.
Oh yeah, I definitely recommend it, Lumen. It's fucking good.
Bearing, cardinal direction, left, right,
is that Axon?
rear,
Subbing on YouTube.
Face. So, example, 12 o'clock would be directly in front of you. You use your clock face. If it's just between you and a couple of guys and you're all in the relatively same position, you could say, left, right, front, rear.
Yeah, I've always been more of a waffle fan myself, too.
Possible type, I believe, of giving some form of direction. If you say, he's bearing 250, if everyone around you opens their compass and looks at 250, that is a definitive, exact point.
Stand by, Sergeant.
Description.
Alright, I'm going to step in here real quick, gentlemen. As Sergeant Myers is talking about a clock face or general direction, alright? If you call 10 o'clock or you call, left or whatever, that only comes to play if you have the same direction of travel. right? If we're set up in a 360-degree security posture, your left is going to be different than someone else's left, or your 2 o'clock is going to be different than someone else's 2 o'clock, right? So keep that in mind when calling out a direction. You need to be, in the same direction of travel. Right, those types of callouts are generally used when you're moving, not when you're stationary, providing security in all different directions. All right, everybody understand that?
Affirm,
Yes,
Sergeant.
sir, First Sergeant.
All right, Sergeant Myers, carry on.
Okay, description. So, for example, type of target be, foot mobile, possibly a MAM, light armor, a tank.
Hey, we'll see you
whatever
later,
teams
Dexter.
We'll normally call them, etc. Accurate description is pretty necessary. It would mean if it's a
Yes, that
just a
accent. I
vehicle
am on
with,
Twitch and
fucking
YouTube.
wheels and it's not got any heavy armor, then rifle squad can deal with it. If it's anything heavier, then you'll need to get a weapon squad on it. Range, distance to the target, exact if possible, estimated if not. You guys have probably heard this before, but use something. The game and armor itself, it's pretty realistic in terms of ranges. Use something you know. If you know something's about a football field away, it could be 100 meters or however long. Make sure if you have the time, pull out your vectors and range it correctly. If you're under fire, obviously you just want to estimate it. Don't waste time pulling out vectors when you could be putting rounds down range.
All right, stand by, Sergeant Myers. Very quickly to step in here again. This is something that we should have went over yesterday, and I completely blanked on it. The optic that all of you are carrying on your rifles right now, the RCO, the MDO does it as well that you guys have on the SAW. Right? This is also a ranging tool. It is not just a means of engaging a target. You can also range a target with it. So looking at the sight picture of an RCO, at the point of the chevron, right, that's the spear within it, the red spear. At the point of that, it's ranged at 100 meters. Middle of the chevron is 200, base of the chevron is 300. Each one of those horizontal lines with a corresponding number next to it is the range, right? So that horizontal line with a 4 next to it is 400 meters. The one directly beneath that, 500, so on and so forth, right? Now, the reason that line is so important, that horizontal line represents the width of 19 inches at that given distance. Anybody have a guess as to why the width of 19 inches is important? Perkinson.
It's because it's the average width of a man's shoulders.
There you go. Average width of a man's shoulders, 19 inches. So at that given distance, at say 400 meters, if you put that line on a target and that 400 meter horizontal line touches from shoulder to shoulder, you now know that target is roughly 400 meters. All right, so it is a quick way to estimate a range so that you're not having to pull out your vectors, which as a basic rifleman, grenadier, AR, whatever, that's not your job to get detailed information on the target. Your job is to engage that target. So give a quick estimation. The team leader can pull out his vectors, get an exact range. While you guys are engaging, he can now send up that information to the squad leader, and it'll go up the chain of command and so on. All right, so make sure you use the optics on your weapon to quickly get a range and then start engaging if you're able to do so. All right, everybody tracking on that?
Affirm, First Sergeant.
Outstanding. Sergeant Myers, carry on.
Okay, assignment. So leaders, such as tends to be your fire team leaders, will assign who will engage what with what weapon system. So whether it makes sense to put an AR on a position or your rifleman, it's all very situation dependent. Control. Leaders determine when to give the order to fire if not already engaged. So if you're coming up behind the squads and you still want the element of surprise, you can decide to not engage at that point of time until the squad leader says they're ready or the task force decides that's when they want to execute a ambush. Difference between contact movement, civilian and friendlies. A contact is someone who is engaging you or an enemy combatant that poses an immediate threat. Someone is only ever a contact if they are shooting at you. Movement is a movement by an unknown person that poses a possible threat. Could be a couple shifty guys, mams walking around, could possibly be armed. Civilian is a plainclothes civilian, does not appear to be armed in any sort of way, they don't pose a threat. A friendly would be a friendly unit. There is no such thing as a civilian contact. If there is someone in plain clothes shooting at you, they are just simply a contact.
Alright,
Okay, Ace.
I am going to kind of bound on this a little bit. So, as Sergeant Meyer said, contact means I am being engaged or engaging an enemy. Right? This is something that people fuck up a lot. Right? They are not a contact unless you are shooting at them or they are shooting at you. It is that simple. There is no fucking gray area. Right? The only caveat to that would be is if they're not currently engaging you, but it is an imminent threat, meaning you are 50 meters away and you are going to be engaged any second, then it can still be called as a contact. All right. Otherwise, it is simply movement. Especially if you don't know 100% sure if it's enemy or friendly, you call it as movement because you have no idea what type of movement it is. It could be enemy, it could be friendly. All right. Otherwise, you can simply call it as foot mobiles or motorized assets, something along those lines. Do not call it as contact because we at a higher level, if we hear contact and no bullets flying, we're confused as to what the hell is going on. Right. Now, and again, expounding on it, there is no such thing as a civilian contact. All right. A lot of the areas we operate in, civilians are allowed to carry full-on AK-47s. Right. However, use your fucking brain. Right. If they're a civilian carrying an AK-47, they're not a contact. They're simply a civilian. If it's someone dressed in civilian clothes carrying a fucking RPG, they are not a civilian. You don't use an RPG to hunt or protect your goddamn goats. Shoot them in the face. They are not a civilian. Now, when it comes to civilians, an escalation of force, right? This is something that is taught in one of our senior leadership courses, but everyone should know this. When it comes to escalation of force with a civilian, there are, well, a couple different methods. For us, it is simplified down to the 5 S's because we can't shove. All right, so it consists of shout, show, shoot, shoot, shoot. All right, 5 S's. Shout, show, shoot, shoot, shoot. Shout, very simply, verbalize commands to get the civilian to do something, whether they're armed or not. If they are impeding you or approaching you, you shout the commands that you want them to do. You continue to say those commands until they comply. If they do not comply or they resist in any way, then you show, essentially you raise your weapon and show them that you are prepared to defend yourself and friendlies. If they continue to not comply, then you shoot. You fire a warning shot. You put a round a meter or two away from their feet. Same goes for a vehicle. If a vehicle is not complying, is not stopping when it should be, you fire a warning shot. You do not fire a warning shot into the vehicle. That is not a fucking warning shot. You fire it into the ground. Next shoot. This is more so for vehicles. It is not for foot mobiles. It is shoot to disable, all right, meaning taking out the tires of the vehicle. Do not shoot into the engine block unless you are using a small caliber weapon. If you're using something like a 50, it can rip right through the engine compartment and still kill the passengers inside. So you hit the tires. All right, and again, that is only for vehicles. We do not shoot foot mobiles to disable. We cannot fire a wounding shot. That is against Geneva. Last shoot is shoot to kill. All right. If by that point they have not complied, they continue to resist your orders, you drop them. All right. Now, where all of this kind of goes out the window is with a declaration of hostile intent. Has anybody ever heard that term before? Declaration of hostile intent. No? All right. All right. So a declaration of hostile intent is for an individual or individuals to declare an intent to harm you or others, whether that be verbal or by their actions. All right, now what that means is if, say, you have an armed civilian in front of you and your fire team, if they are yelling to you that they are going to kill all American swine, that is a declaration of hostile intent. They have now threatened the lives of yourself and other friendly elements. You are cleared to engage them. If they raise their weapon and point it at you or other friendly elements, by their actions, that is a declaration of hostile intent. You are cleared to drop them. Right? You have to keep in mind, we are not a policing force. We are a combat element. Our job, first and foremost, is to protect ourselves and our friendly elements. It is not to enforce law or any other stupid shit like that. So if at any point in time you feel that your life or your buddies' lives are threatened, your number one role is to protect yourselves. Does everybody understand that? Now, this bleeds into the common misconception that the United States military will not engage a holy building. All right, I can tell you now, firsthand experience, that is 100% fucking wrong. Holy buildings mean dick if they are occupied by the enemy. All right, what I mean by that is, if we're in an area that houses churches or mosques, synagogues, minaret towers, whatever, we try our best to have as little impact on the civilian populace as possible. However, if the enemy has occupied one of those buildings, it is no longer a civilian building. It is now an enemy fortified structure. We do what we must to eliminate that threat. What I mean by that is, if some asshole sniper is up in the top of a minaret tower and he is engaging friendly elements and dropping my guys, I will do whatever the fuck needs to be done to eliminate that threat, all the way up to and including dropping a 500-pound GBU on his fucking forehead. Whatever it takes to keep the guys protected. Does everybody understand this? All right. Sergeant Myers, go ahead and carry on.
Okay. Ace reports. When pulling security after an engagement, a team or a squad leader should request an ACE report. ACE stands for ammunition, casualties, and equipment. Equipment is more specifically and sort of special equipment such as the AT-4. The reports are taken by the team squad leader and then sent up to the platoon, to the platoon level. So, for example, quickly after a lengthy engagement, if you get called for an ACE report, that you'll send it up your chain of how much approximately ammunition you've had, what shape you guys are in, and whether or not you still have your anti-tank capability.
Yes, operation tonight is 8 p.m. Eastern.
That you do no longer have AT. Salute reports. Salute stands for size, activity, location, units, time, and equipment. Echoing orders. Self-explanatory. Simply say again the order out loud. Down the line passes from Fireteam leaders. So if you think you misheard something, just make sure you can clarify it. Verbalization actions when following an order, such as peeling, or just when doing something on your own, such as reloading, moving, set at a position, you always have to verbalize it. Keep talking so your leader and the fighter leader knows your whereabouts and that his order is complete. So, good example of this is if the AR gun is reloading, make sure you fucking shout reloading. That means your guys know that the AR gun is down and it is no longer firing. Okay, mounts. Mount stands for military.
Stand by, Sergeant Myers. We'll move on to that later.
Roger.
All right. So, to basically recap some of what Sergeant Myers has gone over here. All right. When it comes to ADIRAC reports or SALT reports, salute reports, all the different types of reports that the military uses, to tell you honestly, they can all be dumbed down to the 3 Ds. Right? When it comes to quickly relaying information, right, always keep brevity in mind, especially at a fire team level. Okay, so as a basic fire team member, if you just give the 3 Ds very quickly, distance, direction, description. Description doesn't have to be super detailed, right? It can just be squad size element of foot mobiles. It doesn't have to entail what guns they're carrying, stuff like that, right? That's where the fire team leader comes in. He can kind of extract that deeper information as he sends that up to the squad leader. The squad leader can then get more detailed information and send that up to platoon HQ. All right, for you guys on the ground in the fight, it is more so about quickly getting that information up and engaging that threat. Okay, so salute reports, assault reports, ADRACs, dumb that stuff down to the 3Ds. Get as detailed as you can, but like I said, just keep brevity in mind and ensure that you're not putting yourself in harm's way by talking for too long on the radio. All right, everybody tracking on that?
Affirm for Sergeant.
All right. Now, with the echoing orders, this is something that I pound into guys' heads because it is so goddamn important, especially guys in leadership positions. If at any point in time you foresee yourself wanting to become a leader in this unit, this is something you're going to have to be very, very good at. All right. Now, echoing orders essentially is to, if you as a team leader receive an order from your squad leader, so Booker and Rainison, if you guys were right now to receive an order from Sergeant Myers, you echo that order down to your guys, word for fucking word. All right, you do not leave anything out. If anything, you should get more detailed. So if he were to tell you guys to move out bearing 317, time now, all right, that's not that detailed. All right, squad leader's job is not to tell each one of your guys where to be. Right? He's going to give you the broad stroke idea of what you're going to be doing. So he says, move out bearing 317, time now. That's it. Now you as team leaders are going to pass down to your team. All right, we're moving bearing 317. Give me a wedge, strong side left, time now. And then you can start moving. So you now have echoed that order down and detailed it even farther so that your guys know exactly what you are doing. Because in a leadership position, at no point in time should your guys be any less informed than what you are. All right, is everybody tracking on that?
Affirm for Sergeant.
All right, excellent. Anybody have any questions up to this point?
Negative for Sergeant.
Negative for Sergeant.
All right. Now, the last thing to real quickly go over here, just to brush on it again, is the verbalizing of actions. All right, this is important for two reasons. As Sergeant Meyer said, it lets us know what you are doing, so we know if the AR says he's reloading, we know we're down one of our biggest force multipliers. It also lets us know you're okay. Now, that may seem kind of stupid, but in this game, you don't have the same type of situational awareness as what you would in real world. You can't hear a guy just over your left shoulder rustling around. You can't hear his entire fucking battle rattle make noise as he rolls, right? So for that reason, we need guys to be verbal in what they are doing. Now, it doesn't mean just a bunch of mindless chatter about what you seen last night in the game or what you had for fucking dinner or stupid shit like that. Keep it relative to what you're doing, but keep up the basic chatter of what you're doing so that we know you're all right and we know exactly where you are and what you're doing. Because if you just remain silent, if you're one of those guys that doesn't like to fucking talk very much, that's fine. But if you're not talking at all about relevant information of what's going on around you, what you're doing, and so on, not only A, are we less informed and now have a more unclear picture of the battlefield, B, if you get dropped for some reason, guys are now used to you not talking, so you being knocked out and unconscious somewhere, they're not going to think anything of you not being on the radio or not talking, and there's a good possibility that it takes a few minutes to realize, oh shit, he's down, and now by the time they get to you, they're fighting the clock to keep you alive. All right, everybody tracking?
Affirm for Sergeant.
All right. So, what we're going to do now is head out to the actual patrol course. You guys are going to go on a short little patrol to give you a little bit of not only land navigation, but also some experience actually moving in formation and so on. So, what you guys are going to do is you're going to approach that white flag over there and head out to the patrol course. All right, does anybody have any questions before we head out there?
Negative for Sergeant.
All right, follow me. All right, approach the flag, use a scroll wheel, and head to the movement course. It's going to be the second flagpole, not the one right next to me.
Or sorry, you said movement course?
Affirm. All right, follow me. All right, let's go ahead and school circle up here on me. All right, what you guys see demonstrated here is what we call a danger crossing. This road is what is classified as an LDA, linear danger area. Right now, when we're moving through a terrain like this, we're pretty much always going to be well aware of any LDAs before we get to them, which would be roads. We can easily see them on maps. Now, when we're moving in a town, it can be a little bit more difficult. We can still see roads, but there's also alleyways, archways within walled compounds, stuff like that, that are still LDAs that need to be crossed properly. Granted, not going to be quite the same for an arched doorway, but for alleyways and stuff like that, it'll be a lot like this. It's not the exact same, but it's pretty close. So for a danger area crossing, if we're approaching this position, generally, squads will already predetermine what team is going to be setting up an LDA, and they're going to be the point team. Going to be setting up a danger crossing, and they're going to be the point team. So if you imagine us moving towards this road in that squad column that we demonstrated earlier, with the point team being in a wedge, then you squad leader, squad medic, and then the trailing team in a diamond. All right, imagine us approaching this position like that. Before we get to the road, all right, say 20, 30 meters back, the formation is going to stop, with exception to the point team. The point team is going to push directly up to this road. They're all going to be on your side of the road. From here on out, referred to as the near side, right? Because it's the nearest to where you are. So the first thing that's going to happen is the team leader, the automatic rifleman, since they're the two closest to the road, are going to set up near side security. Right? So the rifleman and the grenadier are going to pause for a hot second, while the team leader and the automatic rifleman push up to the sides of the road. And they're going to set up just like you see here, with a decent gap in between them. Right? You can even push this gap out a little bit farther. But one is going to cover one direction, one is going to cover the other direction. Right? Once they are set up, the team leader would notify the other two guys via TeamNet, all right, near side security set, far side go. So then at that point, the grenadier and the rifleman are going to push across the road, and they're going to go 30, 40 meters or so on the other side of the road. So say around where that rock wall is, and they're going to clear the back side of that rock wall, make sure there's nobody hiding behind it. Once any immediate danger on the far side is clear, then they're going to push back to where you see them there, right along the side of the road across from the near side. And they'll set up just like the near side is. They'll then radio the team leader and tell him far side security set. At that point, the team leader can now call the squad leader and tell him danger area is secured. Once that squad leader gets the call of danger area secured, now that trailing team behind him is going to push out around him and get in front, and they're going to fall into a wedge formation or whatever he tells them to, generally going to be a wedge, and they're going to pass through this danger area, which is why you want to even space this out a little bit farther so that guys can move through without disturbing their formation. Right? Think of this essentially as holding the door open for someone. You don't want them to have to turn sideways to get through the fucking door. Right? So make sure that gap in between you is big enough for a formation to get through. So that wedge is going to push through. Immediately following that wedge is going to be the squad leader and the squad medic with the same distance in between them and that new point team as what there was before. So 40, 50 meters or so. Once that squad leader and squad medic get to the point of where you guys are on the near side, the squad leader will call last man. That lets the guys on the near side of the road know there's nobody else coming through their door. So now they can pick up and move across the road. Now the far side security remains in place. Even though the near side's moving, the far side stays because you need to maintain security while guys are crossing the road. So near side will pick up and move across. Once they get across and they get to that far side here, that is when the team leader will let the far side security know last man. Once they hear that, now the far side can pick up and begin moving. Now this team that set up security is going to fall into a diamond or whatever formation, and now they are the trailing team. Right? So the previous trailing team has essentially leapfrogged them across the danger area, and now the guys here are the trailing team. All right, is everybody tracking on that so far? All right. Now, this is something that takes a lot of practice to get perfect, right? But once you get it down, a team that has trained on this a lot can do this very fluidly to where there is almost no halt in movement. And you can get an entire squad across a danger area very, very quickly. And you guys just flow right across, pick up your formation again, and continue movement. Now, where this differs is if you have, say, an entire platoon moving across that danger area. Now, in that situation, obviously, the trailing team and your squad leader and squad medic that are back behind where you guys are now, they're not going to push across and just keep moving because they would leave the guys here behind because you still have the rest of the platoon coming through. So in that situation, if you're the point squad and you're securing this danger area for the entire platoon, once that squad leader and that trailing team push across, they're going to get across, push over to the side over there somewhere, and go into a short halt formation, meaning they're going to maintain their wedge formation, but they're just going to take a knee and stop for a few seconds while the rest of the platoon moves through because they're waiting on their guys here securing the danger area. So once the entirety of the platoon moves through, that last squad, when the last guy comes across, he's going to call last man, just like anybody else would. Now these near side guys can move, and then the far side guys can move. Once that last squad gets by the team and the squad leader over there in a short halt formation, now they can fall in behind that last squad, and you guys continue movement like normal, except now you are the last squad in formation instead of the point squad. All right, everybody tracking on that? All right. Again, this takes a lot of practice, a lot of training to be able to do it properly, but it is something that you will get better at. All right, so let's move on. And thank you to all the new follows over the last couple minutes. Sorry I can't thank you guys in the moment. All right. Now, as we just talked about, a short halt formation, all right, which is any time you're going to stop for a few seconds. All right, you're not stopping very long. You're just stopping for maybe someone to receive an order or check their map, get their bearings, so on and so forth. Short halt, you maintain your current formation. You just take a knee, keep security in your current sector, and just wait for a hot second. Now, in a long halt posture, meaning you're going to be there for a few minutes, that is where you are going to get 360 security, right? Which is what you see demonstrated here. All right. Now, the spacing on this is close, just so it's easy for you guys to see. You would never actually be this close to each other. You also wouldn't be in an open field like this unless you have no other choice. But as you can see, each buddy team is basically paired up throughout the squad. All right. So you have two guys covering the rear, two guys covering off to the left, two guys covering front, two guys covering off to the right, and then the squad leader and the medic covering direct front and direct rear. All right. Again, it's a very basic example of 360-degree security. Now, you guys aren't necessarily, like I said, going to be spaced like this or looking in these exact directions. The only part where the spacing is correct is with the buddy teams. Right? This is about how far away from your buddy you want to be. You always want to be pretty much right next to each other so that you can keep tabs on each other. But like I said, you're not going to be out in an open field like this. Right? You're going to try and find cover anywhere you can. If you have absolutely no cover, then yes, you're going to hit the deck just like this and pick up security. But if there is any type of cover or concealment, you're going to move to that. All right, everybody tracking? All right. Now, generally when you get into a long halt posture like this is when you are going to start sending up your ACE reports. Does anybody remember what ACE stands for?
A-frame for sergeant.
Paul.
That'd be ammunition, casualties, and equipment for sergeant.
Exactly. Ammunition, casualties, and equipment. All right. Now with ACE reports, we essentially use a color-coded system on that. Okay. So if you're good, green. If not doing great, but you're still somewhat okay, it's going to be yellow. Getting pretty low, it's going to be orange. Getting very low, it's going to be red. And if you're out of something, you're black. All right. So if you're black on AT, we now know you do not possess an AT4 or a law. Right. If you're black on saw belts, you don't have any belts for the saw. If you're red on 5.56, we know that you're running very low on magazines. And just so you guys know, majority of the guys, even though they're both chambered in 5.56, generally refer to saw belts and 5.56 as two separate things. All right. So generally when people say 5.56, they're referring to the magazines for the M4. If they say saw belts, obviously they're referring to the belts for the saw. All right. So just understand that differentiation, even though they're both chambered in 5.56. Generally, it's saw belts for the saw and 5.56 for the M4s. But this is where ACE reports come into play. So generally, the way that'll work is at a task force level. Say if I'm task force commander, I am going to request from a platoon leader their current sit rep. All right, sit rep is a situational report, which entails everything that is currently going on with them, their position, what they're currently doing, their current equipment status, so an ACE report, and anything like that. All right, so I will request a sit rep from Platoon HQ. Platoon HQ will then go on to request from their squad leaders their current location and their equipment status. So then the squad leaders will send down to the team leaders, I need an ACE report. Now the team leaders will come across TeamNet and say, all right, guys, give me an ACE report. How you doing on ammo and shit? Then, as basic team members, they can relay up to the team leader, I'm green, 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 meaning it's good on everything. All right, green, 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 because ammo, casualty, equipment. So you got 3 greens. That means you're good on everything. Or green across the board, or whatever the situation may be. So now the team leader can take that, send it to the squad leader. All right, we're ACE report as follows, green on all. Now the squad leader already knows his location. So he can then send up to the platoon HQ, be advised we are currently in this position, covering this direction. We are green on all. So now that platoon HQ can get back to me with the sit rep and say, we are currently covering these sectors. We are set up in a defensive posture. ACE report as follows. We are green on all, red on AT. So now as a task force commander, I can take that into account and say, okay, do I need to try and get a resupply in here at this point? If they are red on all ammunition in that sit rep, then I know immediately, okay, I need to have my TAC P start getting a resupply into this area if at all possible. All right. So that just gives you guys an idea of how that little bit of information plays a part in the grand scheme of things. All right. Anybody have any questions on that?
Negative.
Sergeant.
All right. So what you guys are going to do now, if you open up your maps, right, you can see the different markers out where we are now. Everybody see my yellow dot?
Affirm, First Sergeant.
All right, so we are going to be moving through this course towards the direction of the operational rally point up here at the maneuver course. All right, EP is endpoint, ORP is operational rally point. All right, so Sergeant Myers is going to be leading you guys through this movement course up to the maneuver course. Now, as you can see by the map, you have a danger area crossing. All right, so you guys are going to need to set up a danger crossing just like you seen demonstrated a few minutes ago. Now at RP1 here, there is a short halt. Right, remember your correct positions within a short halt. You'll set up your danger crossing, get across, and once you get to RP2, you then have a long halt. All right, so remember how you should be set up in a long halt posture. All right, everybody track it.
Affirm,
Yes,
First
sir.
Sergeant.
All right, the begin point is going to be that white flag right over there. That is going to be the beginning of the patrol course. Now, as far as what team is on point and so on and so forth, that is going to be on Sergeant Myers. Now, that being said, the thing to keep in mind, like I told you earlier, make sure you echo down the orders. All right, so you relay every bit of information down to your team. But keep in mind, when you are told to move, that means move now, immediately. Right? It does not mean stand around for 30 seconds with your dick in your hand trying to get the perfect 45-degree angle on your wedge. Right? You can fall into a formation whilst you are moving. Okay? Do not, and I say again, do not just stand there and try to get into formation. Do it while you are moving. Right? You have to keep in mind you are a very small cog in a big machine. If you slow down because you're trying to get a good formation going, it's going to slow down the entire machine, and it defeats the purpose of the maneuver warfare we are trying to do. Right? Everybody understand that?
Affirm, First Sergeant.
All right. Sergeant Myers,
Yes, Sergeant.
they are all yours.
All right. Alpha Bravo want me to stop it.
Hey, Persia. All right, guys, and thank you for all of the follows and LaRue for the host, as always. Hopefully you guys are enjoying thus far. Timmy, thank you for the follow.
Fireteam Alpha, we're gonna do wedge strong side left. We're taking point.
All right, so we'll hop into Zeus here and watch these guys as they're moving.
Northeast straight to RP1. Move out time now.
Bravo, we're moving 066 in Diamond.
Alpha, were you moving at a jogging pace, weapons down?
Alpha,
Bravo, 066.
Say again that bearing.
066.
You need to be on the left. I'm gonna be behind you. Alpha, we're gonna move weapons down, jogging position. Strong side left. Bearing 60.
All right, guys, he told you to move. You should be fucking moving already.
Bravo, we're moving 066. Diamond formation.
This is just a movement course, right? Like, we don't have to load up our weapons or anything.
Pretty sure.
Copy that.
No, not necessarily. What's up, Stukas? No, formation looks alright. They need spaced out a little bit.
Advise once we hit RP1. Break. Gonna go ahead and have a short halt when you set up 3-6 security at RP1.
This is going to be having a short break, guys. Set up.
Myers, get Alpha spaced out a little bit. Oliver looks good, but Paul and Perkinson are crawling up Booker's ass.
When we hit RP1, we're gonna take a 360 security, want to take a break.
Alpha, make sure you guys maintain your good spacing. You don't want you crawling up each other's asses up there. Sure, if you need to, get your guys to spread out a little bit further left, a little bit further right.
What the fuck is that?
This is more of a line than a diamond.
Hey, Tin Man with the $25 says, training the next generation of FNGs. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Tin Man. I greatly appreciate it, brother. Doing my best, man. Doing my best.
Drops, not all of you are going to go down.
We've been told we had perfect spacing.
Yeah, Stu, because I should be around just once I get out of class. Just hop on my channel.
Check that.
Let's go ahead and shift bearing 079er.
Shifting bearing
White flag,
shifting white flag.
Rally on it, get 360 security. Go ahead and set up for danger crossing.
Covering these rocks.
719er. Set up for danger crossing.
Booker is looking at the completely wrong flag and just crossed the fucking road without doing a danger crossing. Call him back.
Move back to my position time now, Alpha. You guys just crossed the danger crossing without even stopping.
You guys are going past the RP. Head back fucking to the southwest, southeast.
That was my bad.
Alpha Bravo, full 360 security. Just looked an example of it.
360 security, not the white flag.
Watch northwest. Gates covering southeast. Pushed up a little bit.
Bach, thank you for the follow.
Northeast.
Okay, Bravo. Go ahead and set up a danger crossing at the road bearing 062.
Bravo, we're heading to 062 danger crossing.
On you.
Let me know once you guys are set and it's safe to cross.
I'm setting up left, AR set right.
Moving behind you.
Moving behind you.
Remember to check out further over the road.
Your C is set.
Gate set.
This is Bravo. Danger area secured. Over.
Solid copy on last Bravo. Alpha, move yourself across the danger crossing.
Alpha, we're moving across the danger crossing.
Copy.
Hold your formation when you move across.
Full information, wedge, strong side left.
Alright.
Man.
Stay here, do not move. Stay here. Stay here, do not move. I am talking to you, Aaron. Move back over there. Alright. Now those of you guys on the danger crossing here, alright, those red arrows that you see out there in the distance, that is the type of shit that you are covering on a danger crossing, right? Those are known as hides. Okay, those rock walls, the foliage, the destroyed house out there, the windows, the doors, stuff like that. Those are the danger areas those are the hides that you guys are covering while you're on this danger area. It is not just the road itself. It's all of the hides that are along the roads. You guys tracking?
What?
All right. Now go ahead and move as you normally would if the last man just crossed.
AR and Mule, peel over.
Following your movement.
Alpha Bravo, once everyone's crossed, continue movement break. Bearing 086 East 6. Information. Alpha, let me know when you guys are crossing roads, continue movement.
As Alpha, we are ready to continue moving.
I will PT you all until you fucking die!
Bearing 084 East, same formation. Move time now.
Conrad, thank you for the follow.
Guys, we're now bearing
Strong
0,
side left, we're moving. Bearing 0,
Climbing again.
4.
All the copies.
Go ahead and long halt at RP2.
We're at long hold.
We're long halting at RP2.
Copies, setting up security to the east.
Watching
360 security, get your buddy teams together.
northeast.
Guys, buddy teams
I'll get
together,
south,
we
you
got
guys got the
west.
other ways.
Okay, scat north.
Let me get our buddy teams together. I'm covering east. I don't know.
Call your stat line this after.
Do you want me to try and call these guys an ace report?
No, not at this time.
Say again, you want ace?
Alright, Roger, you want to continue movement?
Yeah, go ahead and have them rally over on the flags over there.
Roger. Alpha Bravo, let's go ahead and...
Yeah, Ames is at VIR today.
Bearing, break,
I was,
066 flags up ahead.
Last night watching the Super GT race at Suzuka, or at least the start of it. Couldn't fucking stay awake to watch any more of it.
Heading diamond again.
Moving time now.
Copy bearing 066.
Next week we're gonna be racing the GT2s at Spa. That'll be
Alpha
fun.
Bravo, get you guys moving.
Where are we going?
Bearing 6-6. Sorry, I must not push my mic down. To the flags here.
All the copies.
We'll circle up.
Alright, gentlemen. That wasn't too bad. You guys didn't clusterfuck the danger crossing too much, which is generally what happens. So, good job not fucking that up. The only thing I'm going to critique on this is always be cognizant of your spacing. Alright? Especially moving through big open areas like this. You don't want to be right up on top of each other. You guys were able to correct that once Sergeant Myers called it out to you, but that's something that you need to be able to recognize on your own, especially when we're moving with the entire ground element of a task force. You know, you're gonna have 50 plus guys out there all moving around the same area. You don't want to be running into each other and shit like that. All right. Anybody have any questions on what you just went through?
Negative.
All right. So what we're gonna do next is go through the maneuver course here. All right, now it's going to be a dry run. Later on, we're going to be going through another course where it will be live fire, but this will be dry run. All right, this is where you're going to practice bounding. All right, now Sergeant Myers already went over the two different types of bounding overwatch that we use, successive and alternating. All right, but the most important thing here is when you are bounding, at no point in time is one element maneuvering if another element is not covering. All right. So what that means is you as team leaders, you're going to line your teams up on the rock walls that you see on the back side of this white fence back there. All right. Now, well, actually, let's move over here so you guys can see it a little bit better. All right. Now, again, this is dry fire. There are targets down there, but you're not going to be firing at them. All right. Now, you as team leaders, one team is going to be on the left set of walls. One team is going to be on the right set of walls. You're going to spread your team out across those walls. You guys are going to decide amongst yourselves what team is going to be covering first, what team is going to be bounding first. The first team needs to call set covering. Once they call set covering, that other team needs to call bounding, right? And you guys are going to be calling this on SquadNet. You as team leaders need to talk to each other, right? It's not just about talking to actual. You guys need to coordinate shit between the two of you as well. So first team calls set covering, the other team calls bounding. They move up to the next wall. Once they get to the next wall and they have their rifles pointed downrange to engage any threats, they then can call set covering. Once the other team hears that, they call bounding, right? Seems pretty simple. Guys fuck this up a lot. Majority of the time they fuck it up by as soon as they hit the wall, they call set covering, right? Just because you've got to a piece of cover, yes, you're set, but that does not mean you're covering, right? You need to have your rifle downrange, ready to engage, right? That means that you are covering. If you're still sitting behind that cover and trying to get yourself situated and figure out who's where and so on, that you're not covering anything. You're just set, okay? So once you get on that wall, you get your rifles pointed downrange, ready to engage any threat that may present itself. Then you call set covering, and then the other team can bound. Right? Anybody have any questions on this?
Negative first sergeant.
All right. I want Alpha on the left side of walls, Bravo on the right side of walls. Team leaders, you guys just figure out between the two of you on squad net who's going to be moving first. Go. Hey, gaming.
So Alpha, you can bound first. Over.
I was wondering how long it was going to take for that.
I followed the blue. Alright, I'm ready.
Alright, when you guys are ready, begin movement.
Alright, guys, we're bounding first.
Copy.
I'm still not used to seeing
Wrong nut.
249s with that optic. That is big fucking piece of thing.
Oh, the MDO?
Yep.
That thing is a monster. I
Be
love
sure
it.
to get on the right net, Alpha. Over. Out.
It's as big as gun itself, basically.
Say again?
Yeah, but it works so well.
Oh, indeed.
Alpha, make sure you're calling when you're set and moving over squad net.
Pretty
so Bravo
fucking
can also hear you.
easily engage targets out to 1,200 meters with it.
Sorry about that. Alpha is set covering.
Bravo, bounding.
Alright, halt for a minute. Team leaders. Alright, keep in mind, if you guys are doing this in a firefight, the rest of your team is not going to just automatically fucking hear you telling the other team leader that you're bounding, alright? You can tell the other team leader on squad net that you're bounding, then you need to notify the rest of your team that you guys are bounding, and then start moving, right? If you just automatically assume that they hear you, you're going to be left out there with your dick in the wind running by yourself because the rest of your team is still sitting at the wall, and then they'll realize that, oh shit, we're moving, right? So come over squad net, tell the other team leader that you're bounding, wait a second or two, and then come over team net and notify your team moving, and then all of you can move together. All right, everybody tracking? All right, carry on. Hey, we'll see you later, Jake.
Booker,
Bravo
just
team
note,
set.
when you talk on one channel and then go to the other, you gotta give it a second. Otherwise, you'll broadcast over the
I will
same net.
PT you all until you fucking die!
Let's go, let's move.
Pepbots, or
Alpha is
Pepbot, thank you for the follow.
Okay, guys, we're moving up.
Copy, moving.
All reset.
Ferguson set.
Alpha is set covering.
Bravo, bounding. Let's bound you guys.
Moving.
See us set.
Rolling your
Bravo set.
Kate set.
Alpha bounding. Okay, guys, move up.
All reset.
All set.
Ferguson set.
Alpha set
PT
covering.
you all until you fucking die!
Bravo, bounding.
Jesse, thank you for the follow.
Guys. Bravo set.
Bollinger set.
Garcia set.
Gates set.
Alpha bounding. Alright guys, let's move up.
God damn, they almost look like they know what they're doing.
Oliver set.
Now let's see how much it goes to shit once they're under fire.
Alpha set covering.
Roger. Bravo
Hey
bounding.
Jay, I'm glad you enjoyed it, bud. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a good one. Last night was it's not so much that it was boring. I'm glad it went the way it did. That's the first time as a task force commander I've been able to just, sit there and command elements. Yeah, some people might have thought it was boring.
I will PT you all until you fucking die.
Demon, thank you for the follow.
Alright guys, let's move up.
I will PT you all until you fucking die.
And Bandit, thank you for the follow.
Paul set.
Parkinson set.
Alpha is set covering over.
Roger. Bravo bounding. It's bound, guys.
Garcia set.
Bollinger set. Gates set.
Alright, everybody go ahead and hold there.
He's gotta stop saying his name over net.
Alright. That was not horrible. Once you guys made the adjustment of letting your team know, looked pretty damn good. You guys were actually all moving up online with each other. Right, that's exactly how it should be done. Okay. Now, obviously, this is going to be a whole hell of a lot more difficult once you guys are under fire and you're returning fire. All right, which is what you're going to be doing after this. All right, but before we get to that, we're going to be covering the next form of maneuver, which is known as peeling. Right. When you think of peeling, all right, essentially, if bounding is a way to move vertically, peeling is a way to move horizontally. Okay, so if, say right now, you guys behind these rock walls, if there was a large hill to your left and it provides better cover and you guys need to flank around to the left, right, then at that point you need to peel. All right, now if you are going to, again, for example, peel to your left, you're going to start on your right side, right? Because you want the guy farthest away to move first. Okay, so what you guys essentially are in right now is what we would call a skirmish line. Okay, now if you're peeling left, the guy on the extreme right of the skirmish line is going to be the first one to move, which is Gates down there at the far right end, right? So if the squad leader calls peel left, Gates is going to call verbally, not over the radio, but he's going to call in his direct chat or whatever the fuck you want to call it. He's going to say peeling left. He's going to stand up, go behind the skirmish line, and start running down to the left end of it. Now when he stands up, turns around and starts running, as soon as he passes Rainison there, he's going to call last man. That lets Rainison know he is now the extreme left of the skirmish line. Once he hears last man, Rainison is going to get up and do the exact same thing and fall in right behind Gates. And they're going to be running, again, down towards the extreme left. Now once Rainison reaches Garcia, he's going to yell last man, and Garcia is going to fall in line right behind him. Now once they get down to Oliver, they're going to maintain spacing and set up in the same skirmish line. All right, so when Gates gets down to Oliver, he's going to go 5-10 meters down from Oliver, set up, and begin covering. When Rainison gets down to this left end and he's 5 to 10 meters left of Gates, he'll set up and start covering. And everybody continues moving behind them. Right, you're just all leapfrogging each other. The main thing to remember here, do not forget to call last man. Right? If you're peeling and you get behind the guy to your left, if you are peeling left and you get to that guy to your left, you need to call last man so that he knows it's now his time to start moving. You do not want to leave your buddy left out there with his dick in the wind, right? So call last man and just haul ass down to the end of that skirmish line and keep doing it over and over until you get to whatever piece of cover you need to get to, right? Now, peeling is something that's not used nearly enough, but it can be done at any level, just like with bounding. Okay, so you can bound in buddy teams, you can bound in fire teams, you can bound by squad. Same thing can be done for peeling. You can peel at an individual level, a buddy level, fire team level, squad level, so on. Right? It does not matter the size of the element. The same procedures still work. Right? So it doesn't matter if there's 2 of you moving at one time or fucking 20 of you moving at the same time. It still works the exact same way. All right? Everybody tracking? All right. So what we're going to do is real quick, you guys are going to practice peeling real quick, and you're going to peel to your left, all right? So Gates is going to be the one starting it off, and you guys are just going to go through one full rotation of you guys peeling, and you'll get an idea of how quickly you guys can move horizontally if you need to, all right? So when Sergeant Myers gives you guys the command to peel left, you're going to go through the exact steps that I just went through, and you guys are going to start moving. All right? Anybody have any questions?
Negative for Sergeant.
All right, Sergeant Myers, give him the command when you're ready.
Bravo, peel left.
Gates start peeling.
Give him a direction. Remember, pass that order down word for word. He said peel left. He did not just say peeling. Don't assume that your guy knows what you're talking about. Gates, get back down behind cover. Let's try it again. Sergeant Myers, give him the command.
Bravo, peel left.
Okay, we're peeling left. Gates, move.
Last man.
Last man.
Bollinger, last man.
Set.
Mars, are you going? No.
All right, go ahead and halt there.
Halt it.
All right, so just that one team peeling, you can see they've moved a good 50 meters from their original position. All right, everybody please lower your rifles. I know they're not loaded, but you're still making me fucking nervous. All right, so that quickly a team has moved 50 meters. All right, so if we were to continue that on and the whole squad were to go through that rotation, you can see how far you can travel moving like that. And the entire time that you're moving, you have someone covering you. All right, so this is a very, very good way to move from cover to cover laterally as opposed to moving forward or moving back. All right, anybody have any questions?
Negative for Sergeant.
Negative for Sergeant.
All right, well, better hope you fucking got it right, because you guys are about to fucking do it for real under live fire. All right, so follow me. Actually, stand by one moment. All right, we're going to save some time. I'm just going to Scotty us over there.
Alpha and Bravo, once you get over there, make sure you guys do your pre-combat checks and your earplugs are in.
Alpha, when we get there, we're supposed to do our pre-combat checks and make sure our earplugs are in.
Copy, Booker.
All the copies.
No problem on me.
All right, go and get yourselves up against the Heskos here.
For Sergeant Murray. hate to leave you a man short, but I gotta get out of here real quick. I've got a family emergency.
That's fine. All right. All right, you guys are losing gates, but that's fine. You can still work as a 3-man fire team. All right, what we're going to be doing here, your goal is to get from here all the way to the northern end of this course here. Now, at the north end of this course, there are going to be some flags. Go ahead and use the ramps to get up to the second level of those HESCOs so you can look out there and get an idea of what this course looks like. All right, so as you guys can see, there's a lot of cover and concealment out there for you guys to pound. Now, a lot of this is going to be down to you guys team leading, coordinating with each other, just like you were. All right, Sergeant Myers is going to be out there with you, but he's not going to be holding your hand, right? It's up to you guys to determine who's covering, who's moving, so on and so forth, all right? Again, your goal is to reach those flags up there at the far north end. Make sure you use all of the tools that you have provided. All right, so make sure that you're using your smoke to conceal your movement. Make sure you are suppressing targets when they present themselves. Okay? Everybody tracking so far?
Affirm, first team.
All right, go ahead and get yourselves down back behind cover. Now, you two team leaders, I'll give you guys a minute here to kind of converse and figure out what you guys want to do, who wants to move first, and so on. And once Sergeant Myers gives you guys the order to move, you better be ready to move. So, got a minute or two to get your shit sorted out.
Okay, guys, how do you want to do this?
I will PT you all until you fucking die!
Go ahead and lock and load. Pre-combat.
Guys, get your hammer in, lock and load. Don't forget your earplugs. Booger, how do you want to do this?
We off comms 20 seconds.
Oliver's ready.
Oh my god, not there. Not there.
You
I'll
guys
take down
want to
there.
lead first since we did it in the dry run?
Paul's ready.
Alpha and Bravo, I'll let you know now. Make sure you utilize all your smokes. If you're crossing, you're being suppressed, and you feel like you're not safe to cross, throw a smoke. 2 smokes can cover pretty well.
Are you on my left?
Yep, private ball.
I was just wondering if I could say something to all the guys real quick about the whole covering fire.
Yep.
Deal.
Sure.
Alright, so who's the saw gunner for Bravo? Alright. Whenever his gun goes down that he's got to reload, make sure everyone with the M4s picks up the rate of fire to replace his rate of fire. And when he's got his ammo up and he's shooting,
We need an arsenal. They're in uniforms.
Let me know when you guys agree, ready to move.
This is Bravo, we're agreeing to move.
Oh, shit. How do you open up that little menu thing?
will PT you all until you fucking die! I will PT you all until you fucking die!
Hello, Lurk. Sorry I missed that a second ago. Seven, radio check, frequency 3-1 over.
7's 2-1, Lima Charlie on tree 1.
Should we go?
Solid copy. I will notify once we are ready to go up here.
Roger, last standing by.
Alright,
Don't forget your smokes, guys.
basically stick over towards that left side of the compound over there, and I'll stick over here towards the right.
We're gonna be staying on the east
You know,
side
don't
of this
punish
and
them too
directly
fucking
into
hard,
the
but if they're
accessible barrier,
making
is that correct?
really stupid mistakes, let them know.
As always.
Alright. And, make sure you're on, frequency 3-1, and just let me know when you're ready.
I'm all set.
Alright. Alright, give them the order to move, course is live.
Don't forget to call targets either. Bearing what their position is.
Roger, moving time.
Just keep communication.
Bravo, let's go. Let's roll out.
Fucking this way now.
Copy. Alpha, this is Bravo. We're bounding.
Be advised, I'm coming from Bravo, let's go.
Watch out, we're taking out good fire. I'm up on the next escort.
Put down some fire. You're being shot at. Unconscious. Identify where the fire's coming from.
Oliver's down.
Back up.
Bravo, can we take fire?
Yeah, that's neighbor. I have no clear eyes on any contacts.
I don't hear anything.
Eyes on, shots coming from
Red
bearing
side,
3-4.
red side.
I don't hear anything.
Ah, they're shooting at me.
Kinda late now.
Press 4.
Bravo, if you're set, call it.
I repeat, Bravo, set.
God damn it.
Roger. Alright, guys, we're gonna move.
Check your net.
Who's team lead for Bravo?
Alpha is bounding.
Stand by 1 way.
Alright, guys, pop a smoke and let's move.
I'm reloading. Believe it's private, bro.
Smoke it.
Say again last.
Believe it's private, Brooker.
Roger. Yogi, get ready.
I'll take the west corner here.
Thanks. The range is 500.
Don't thank me, he said repeat.
Run. On top of the hill.
IDF.
He's calling IDF. I don't hear a fucking thing, dude. This sucks.
He got really fucking lucky.
This is Bravo. We're bounding again.
I didn't hit him, it landed on the outside of the Hesco.
Bound.
Calling her moving.
Paul is bugged.
Mercy is set.
All your set. What are we doing here?
Set
Alpha,
cover for
we're waiting
Bravo.
on you.
Alpha is set covering.
Bravo, set.
Let's go, Alpha.
My fucking cord's broken.
Alpha, let's move.
Firing.
Yeah, that tends to
Firing,
happen.
guys.
Alpha, we're moving.
Copy, smoked out.
Let's
Alpha
move,
is
guys.
bounding.
that rate of fire.
I'm saying we have to fire more.
Increase rate of fire, guys. Increase rate of fire.
Alpha is set cover.
Contact bearing 342, center of the Tesco's to the right of the OP tower.
Get those souls
moving left to right.
Actually doing really good with their
Alpha,
smoke coverage.
Bravo, we're bounding.
So anyone have
Well, granted, their covering element can't really do much, but they also can't engage them.
I'm reloading. Pick up rate of
reloading.
Eyes on.
AR, let's go.
Top of the ridge is like 300 meters out. Get some 40 mics on them.
Set over here on the right side.
Set.
Alpha, this is Bravo, we're set.
I got, we need to spread out a bit. One more as we're all out.
Alpha is grounded.
20 millimeter going out.
And damn, they're actually using 40 mic mics.
Throwing a smoke. We're
Garcia,
gonna
stay on my left.
Back off my ATGM.
Plume the move.
Alright, guys, move up.
Keep up the fire, guys.
Don't fucking clump up on these walls. Use the entire wall.
Oliver set.
AR reload.
RPG.
Reloading.
Alpha, this is Bravo, report in.
Alpha is set covering.
Guys, Alpha is set. We're gonna be moving soon.
Ooh, that was close. Said a couple seconds ago, maybe.
Movement bearing 341
Alpha,
to the
this is
left
Bravo,
of the OP
report
tower.
in.
Advise on any targets.
Oliver has to get him.
It's bound, guys, it's bound.
Contact sandbags bearing 343.
Pretty hurt.
I'm gonna PT you all until you fucking die!
Solid copy.
I'm reloading.
I'm gonna PT you all until you fucking
get moving.
die!
Trying to move, I'm just
Gotta
gonna
be now, bring out the sniper.
Raiders to check in. Oliver
Until
reloading.
you fucking die!
Yay. Raiders to check in.
I'm gonna PT you all until
Get the
you
communication
fucking
up.
die!
Alpha, this is Bravo.
They're really not doing too bad.
What is your status?
This is Bravo, I'm hurt, I'm on my way. We'll be there soon. Alpha, this is Bravo, we're set.
Contact
Roger,
bearing
Alpha is
348 right side of the complex.
I got
prone on the
smoke.
hill.
Let's move up.
Smoke out. That smoke follower.
Smoke out.
I'm gonna PT
Reloading.
you all until you fucking die!
Alright, move up.
Hold back behind defilade.
I don't want to do that.
I'll take the west side of that sandbag here. 1% bomb.
I got a man down on my...
Ready down.
Guys, keep up fire.
Contact left side of the sandbag.
Alpha, this is Bravo, I need a sit rep.
Be advised, Alpha
Push
team
over to the
lead is
left.
down. I'm dragging him. Mike, need you on my pod.
On my way.
Bravo, get that rate of fire up. I'm
Bearing
currently managing myself.
341, either an LMG
Copies
or
everybody else.
Guys,
HMG.
increase the rate of fire.
Mike,
Increase
let's grab
rate
him here.
of
Are we
I'm
good?
green.
Is everyone up? Reloading. Alpha
we're going
is
out.
set covering.
I'm getting patched up by the dock.
Roger that. Bravo, pounding. Bravo, let's pound.
We're getting close with those 40 mic mics.
Get the grenadiers firing around.
Roger, moving.
It's about 350, 400 meters.
We got about 400 meters. Grenadiers are firing rounds.
I'm reloading.
God damn.
It's around 351 center of the sandbags.
Man, you guys stop
Really
one
going
back there.
Alpha, this is
You can
Bravo,
make it up
we're
further.
set.
There's grenades. There's grenades out.
I'm back in green.
This This is Booker, I'm bleeding.
I'm moving.
Incoming
Wait,
RPG.
I'm bandaging myself.
You got a, Booker's down? No, he's still up, never mind. Negative, scratch that. Someone's down.
Guys,
One back to the west side of the sandbags.
Bollinger set.
There's a 40 mic coming in
Your
from
location.
Check yellow smoke.
I can't fire, guys. You gotta
Might
be
be
direct
yellow
fire.
smokes.
We gotta get moving. We gotta pop
Yeah,
smoke.
Be your direct front.
We're at the northmost yellow smoke.
Guys, are we ready to move in?
Hey, firm. Let's go.
Pretty injured, so.
I'm reloading.
Alpha is bounding.
Have you requested the mic?
Alright, smoke out.
Alright, guys, let's move up.
Smoke up.
Your battalion's motto is keep up the fire. Nice.
I got a
It would be great here.
40 millimeter coming in.
Guys, I might be going down soon.
You guys green?
So second in command.
Hey, firm.
I got a hit with that 40 mic mic. I'm gonna
You said
patch
we
you
were
up here.
bound to the house?
And never mind, I got hit with that also.
Oliver's patching up.
Alpha, this is Bravo. We're set.
Yep, doing the same.
I'm in. Pop smoke on me.
Is he down?
Negative, he's moving.
Run away.
Get some bandages.
Alright, I'm back in the fight.
Alpha is set covering.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to kill me.
Alpha, what's the situation?
Incoming.
Bravo, this is Alpha. We are set
350.
covering.
Copy on that.
Roger that. This is Bravo. We're moving.
In between the two nettings.
Let's mount, guys. Let's mount.
Reloading, wait one.
We're heading to this tank over here. This tank.
Bearing 345 in the
Hey,
bunker.
take the wall.
Watch out, 40 mic mics.
Where is over
Yeah, the
here?
AK-12 is super fucking powerful.
Patching up.
You all set?
Your C is set.
Bollinger set.
Alpha, this is Bravo. We're set. You're clear to move.
Roger, Alpha is bounding. Alright, guys, let's move up.
RPG gunner bearing 341.
Copy.
I think somebody dropped. Right of the bunker.
Oh, damn it. I'm gonna have to restart my team speak real quick.
He's on the far right
7 going
side.
off comms, 1 might gotta restart team speak.
Alpha is set.
Roger that. We're mounting.
Scratch that, he's back up.
Keep that suck up. Parkinson's reloading.
Are you set, guys?
Set.
Utilize the rest of your smokes to get some smoke cover. We need to make sure those black pulls is gonna have to be a rush.
001.
Alpha, this
Make
is
that
Bravo.
direct
We're
zero,
set.
direct north from us. Sandbags next to a
Pop
missile.
all the smokes you've got, make a wall.
Roger. Alright, guys, pop all the smokes you got. We gotta get to those flags.
I'm hurt.
We have one
I'm
hurt.
Time now.
Only got 2
Bandaging himself, and then
If he can move, he can move. Let's go, let's go.
Alright, guys, move up. Let's go.
Bravo, just keep suppressing, get your soul sync.
Keep suppressing. They're moving, guys.
Keep moving to the...
Keep moving to the wall, guys.
Alpha, this is Bravo. What's the situation?
Wait, one.
Ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire.
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 Oh, ceasefire.
Ceasefire.
Safety of weapons and condition.
Oliver's
Take out our mags.
Yeah, I dropped him in the window. I dropped him in the window, I was just sitting there.
Mike's moving to. School circle up on the flag.
School circle up on the flags.
I found him.
I want to know who his buddy was.
Fuck. Wanna drive down there like a badass?
Everybody, even when you're bounding, you want to keep eyes on your buddy. Make sure you're bounding together, you're even next to each other, or you know he's running with you.
Roger. Sorry about that.
Bounds a significant distance and he's all the way back there. Once we get to this wall, we're fucked. Getting back there is going to be a pain.
Alright, gentlemen. First and foremost, what you guys think of that? You have a good time?
Affirm, First Sergeant.
First Sergeant.
I had no sound the whole time, First Sergeant. Didn't hear anything.
Alright, that's a bug that I've seen happen multiple times. The only way I know of getting around it is completely restarting your game. So, you know, it's kind of a shitty situation.
Yeah, Phil, I got it last night while I was Ares, had to reboot game.
Oh, is that why you disconnected?
Yeah.
Alright.
Nightmare.
So yeah, it does happen. All of you guys just keep that in mind. If it does happen, completely restart your game, and what you'll need to do, like if this happens in an operation, say you're filling in with someone or you're billeted somewhere, alright, and you have that issue, disconnect, restart your game, reconnect to the server, and contact your COC in some way. If you cannot contact your COC through like shooting them a message on TeamSpeak or grabbing an Android and sending a message to them or something along those lines, then contact whoever is Zeusing. If you don't know who is Zeusing, then you need to contact your COC or talk to one of the helicopter pilots that'll be at base. There's always someone there waiting to reinsert people. Ask one of them who is Zeusing, or if they can get word out to someone to get you technically reinserted. All right, a tech insert, we can basically just teleport you back in to your guys if you have any type of crash or you have to disconnect for something or whatever. So just keep that in mind, all right?
Affirm, First Sergeant.
All right. Now, as I said, it's obviously a lot more stressful, a lot more difficult to do this when you're actually under fire and you're engaging targets and so on. That being said, your guys' communication was very good. And I'm not going to fucking compliment you guys too much because I still want your fucking heads small enough for your helmets to fit in them, or to fit on them. But that was pretty good as far as communication, your smoke coverage. The only time I seen you guys really fuck up when it came to the smoke was whatever team was on the left side there, and when you moved from those two dirt mounds over to that half-destroyed house, you guys covered a little bit with the smoke, but one, you started moving before the smoke was even plumed, which is why I was immediately able to start dumping grenades on you. Two, you only covered about half of your movement to that house, which is why I was very easily able to see exactly where you guys moved to, and I could still put grenades on that house because I knew you were there. So just keep in mind when you're maneuvering somewhere, you have to not only conceal your movement, but also, your arrival at that position, all right? And you need to give that smoke time to plume before you actually start moving. It defeats the purpose if you throw the smoke and then just immediately start running across that open field. All right, so throw the smoke, let it start pluming, actually conceal your path, and then move to your cover. All right, but other than that, it wasn't too horrible right up until the end there with Paul getting left behind, which I heard as I came up here that Sergeant Myers was already touching on. That's a big fucking no-no and will not happen again. But other than that, it was not horrible. Sergeant Myers, anything you would like to touch on that you haven't already?
Nothing from me, First Sergeant. Oh, yeah, there you go. Apart from someone did say the word repeat on the radio.
Yes, as Sergeant Yogi pointed out, thank you. And the reason Sergeant Yogi pointed it out is because he's usually the one that's got to clean up your fucking mess when you're dumb enough to say repeat on the radio. I told you guys yesterday, you say repeat on the radio, I'm going to drop a mortar directly on your nut sack, which I did. However, luckily for you, that mortar happened to drop pretty much right on top of the HESCO, so it didn't do fuck all to you. Had it been another foot to the south, you would have both been completely fucked. All right. Make sure you police yourself on that, and it will continue to happen. If you say repeat come day 3 or day 4, the exact same thing is going to happen. You are going to get a mortar dropped directly on you. I don't care if we are in the middle of a teaching segment. You say repeat, I will mortar you. Does everybody understand that? All right. Sergeant Yogi, anything else to point out from the medical side?
Nothing from medical, First Sergeant.
Sergeant Myers, go ahead.
Thank you, First Sergeant. I did touch on it while we were moving. It's important to keep flow of movement high. If you guys are sitting behind some cover, the chances are that the enemy will be able to zero in your position and put more accurate rounds down range. It means that don't hang around. Just because the piece of cover you're behind is nice doesn't mean you should be hanging around there for a little bit longer. You should always think about your next movement. And as soon as the other team gets set, you need to call out your set to allow us to move. The quicker we get through this, the quicker we get up on top of them, we can assault that compound or whatever you're doing. It's just important to, keep moving up. That's all from me, First Sergeant.
All right, thanks, Sergeant Myers. All right, so as predicted, we are not going to have time to be able to go over Mount today. That's perfectly fine. We'll have time on day 3 to be able to go over it. Now, as I told you guys yesterday, oh yes, Sergeant O'Leary, anything you would like to point out?
Yes, thank you, First Sergeant. To elaborate what Sergeant Myers just said about not sticking around in one spot for too damn long. Well, if you're stagnant, if you're behind if you're behind cover and you're being suppressed and you want to engage that fucker, whoever's pressing you, to get some load off your fucking ass, well, when you pop your head out from one certain position and you get fucking lit up, tuck back down, don't fucking stick your head back up from the same positions 2 seconds later. Because you're gonna end up dead, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened to a few of you guys. Because I'm already zeroed in on that position, I know where your head is gonna pop up next, I'm gonna take it clean off. You have a lot of room to work with. Those mounts, those ruins, they have a lot of space, you can work around, move back, shoot over them, switch sides, whatever. But don't stay in one fucking position until you're dead. Also, ammo conservation. You shoot up too much, in my opinion. I know there's a couple of times when me and First Sergeant were quite behind a good cover, and there was no way you would have been able to see us, and there were still rounds landing all over the place. Okay, if Sergeant Marks told you to keep the fire rate up, that's a different thing. But just my point is, there's no point in engaging an area if there's nobody in there. Just you see a target, you fire at him, talks back down, dies, whatever. Squeeze up a few more rounds to keep him suppressed and stop. Wait until the target presents itself again. Because you'll just end up wasting ammo at that point. That's all for Sergeant. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sergeant O'Leary. Private Bollinger.
This was more of a question for the medical side. Was it at any point, was there a call that went up for medical attention that anybody needed?
As far as I know, there was a medic being called up for Alpha, but it got disregarded because he woke up. But apart from that, that's all I know about.
Copy that. I observed that our fire team leader was injured, and we patched him up. I told him to call up for the mic. You cannot be afraid to call up that you need medical attention. That is their job, to come patch you up, get you combat efficient again. Not be afraid to make that call.
Yes, to elaborate on what Private Bollinger is saying here, though. All right, if you take a round, you can patch yourself up, all right? That's why you carry bandages. You don't need to call the mic over for every little instance. What he's referring to more so by getting you back in the fight and being combat effective, all right? If you're in heavy pain, you have your screen flashing and shit, that's when you need to call the mic over and get morphine, all right? Because at that point, it is now a detriment to your ability to fight, because you don't have full view of everything. So you do need to call Mike over, even if you've already patched yourself completely up, you bandage all of your wounds, you still need to call Mike over to give yourself some morphine, or to give you some morphine, so that you can continue to have a clear picture of the battlefield and continue to fight. All right, does everybody understand that?
Affirm for Sergeant.
Affirm for Sergeant.
All right. Anybody got any comments or questions from this point?
Negative for Sergeant.
Hey, we'll see you later, Jaws. All right. There's always one to fuck it up. Booker.
It's not directly related to this today's course.
That's fine. Go ahead and send it.
I was just going to ask if anyone would be willing to help me after this to fix my loadouts. I've tried several times to fix them, and I can't load them in.
Did you build them based off of the student reference document?
Yeah, during the recruitment, the very first class thing, that's when I built them, and I tried to fix them several times after that, and I just can't load them back in since then.
Go to the student reference document, build them exactly to what is there. Private Bollinger.
Private Booker, have you tried building them in Arsenal or actually in a server? The virtual Arsenal or the server?
Just the virtual Arsenal.
Okay.
Probably adding something in there that shouldn't be.
You have to build those inside of the server. I've noticed myself that anything built in the virtual Arsenal does not necessarily translate over to the server just because of coding.
Roger. I'll go do that after this stuff.
All right. Any other comments and or questions? All right. Then, like I was saying, we're not going to have time to get them out today. Get to it on day 3. As you guys are aware, this is last day for this week. All right, so we're not going to be picking back up until next weekend. Do day 3 on Saturday, and then we got day 4 on Sunday. I expect to see all of you there. If for some reason you are not going to make it, make sure you message me on the forums and notify